Hello, it's Adedoyin Jaiyesimi here, and welcome to my YouTube channel. So for the next few videos, I'm going to be answering questions or dealing with topics that were recurring during the Comms Mentorship conference. So people put questions before the conference, during the conference, and even afterwards, and I just collated everything, picked out the ones that I felt were really interesting, and decided that I would record the answers so that more people can benefit from the answers. And that's what I'm going to be doing in the next few videos. I'm going to start with one that was really interesting to me because I've had a number of people ask me this question. I've even coached some professionals through navigating this question, and it is, can communications truly be a long-term sustainable career? I don't know if you've ever thought about it like, is this comms? Is there a way forward? Is this really for me? Am I ever going to make it? Am I ever going to find financial freedom? And I really understand where that is coming from, because we're working against a backdrop where a lot of organizations still do not understand the benefit or even what communications is all about. They don't understand the benefits, and what that then translates to is that their comms teams are under-resourced, right? Under-resourced in terms of the human capacity, under-resourced in terms of the financial side of things. So you find one person that is doing 10 people's jobs, largely underpaid. There's just so many things going on, and in this backdrop where cost of living crisis, cost of living is rising, the remuneration is not rising as much, and then a lot of young professionals are working around the clock. So it's like, oh, where's even the time to do professional development? Some organization, there is no proper structure. So you start out as a comms officer, a comms manager. It just seems like your growth is capped, and you can't really see the way forward if you're going to do this long term. If you're just starting in your 20s and you're seeing, for example, maybe your boss in his 40s is senior comms manager, you're really not seeing like what's the future holding for this career path. So I'm really going to just share from my own perspective, and I hope that it encourages you. I remember last year I had to coach 2 young professionals, and they were in different phases of their careers, and one was really frustrated. She had really been working hard at it, really trying her best, but it just didn't seem to be working. She wasn't making the money she needed. She didn't even have money to be doing the professional development. It just felt like a losing battle, and she's like, look, Adedoyin, let me just pivot to sales or marketing, where at least I will earn a sizable, decent income, and I can use that to improve myself. And then the same thing with the other person too. It's like, I'm really trying my best. I really can't see the way forward. This thing is not working. One of them decided to stick with it, and things are getting better. The other person is like, look, comes, that's the end. I'm gone. So I think at the end of the day, you're going to have to make the decision that works best for you. But I really want to encourage you, I really hope that this video encourages those of you that you really believe that communications is something that you're called to, you're passionate about, and you really would like to build a long-term career in. To answer this question, I'm going to take you down memory lane to when I was still consulting. I was working with senior executives, just trying to make a name for myself and just trying to break in, And I remember this particular client that I had, and at the time, because of imposter syndrome, I really wasn't charging what I should. I really second-guessed myself in that way. I had this fear or blocker with regards to money. So I was just charging money that didn't make sense. Let me just put it like that. But this particular client, she wanted me to help her in terms of her personal content, so writing speeches, going through any of her written stuff. So I'll be editing, drafting, all of those stuff. And I remember at the time, and this was 2018, maybe 2017, 2018, when we first started, I think I told her that maybe I wanted to collect 200,000 naira. Sorry, I'm going to use naira because that was what it was back then. And it wasn't, in fact, it wasn't a lot of money, but I was even afraid to ask her for that 200,000. And then she goes, oh, I think I was asking for 200,000 per month because it was meant to be a retainer kind of thing. And she says, oh, this is a lot, that she doesn't want to commit this kind of money, And then maybe we now came down to like 80, 85, but it was not up to 100,000. I really remember this. And I felt like this was way below what I would, normally charge. I even felt like I was shortchanging myself. But you know how sometimes you say, okay, you know what, let me do this for the long-term benefit that this can bring. This could open doors. You rationalize it in some way. Sometimes that rationalization, it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, that's not the topic of the day. And as part of the engagements with that particular client, I would go with her to speaking engagements, just because we would prepare the speech. I would prep her for it, and then afterwards I just give her pointers, review what she had done, give her pointers, take content and all of that for her. Now, what that meant is that sometimes I would follow her. Sometimes I would go to her house and we'll go to these speaking engagements together, or I meet her there. But a lot of times I was always in her car while she was having conversations and doing, different things. And one day she was having a conversation in the car. I think it was an event that she was planning, and she wanted to get certain items. And this event, maybe it's like a birthday, it wasn't anything, in my opinion, that was so significant like that. But she just really wanted to do it and do it well. And she was talking about a particular item that she wanted to bring in from overseas, and she wanted to purchase it, and she was negotiating with the person. And this thing, so it's one of those things where, if somebody says, I don't even remember if it was a dress, but she then said, okay, I can pay 1 million naira. And in my head, I'm like, you're going to pay 1 million naira for this thing that you're going to use only once, but you're not able to pay me, right, 100K, because it was less than 100K she was paying for this thing that is adding to your reputation, the way you speak, the way you present to yourself. And that conversation, and that wasn't the only thing, because there she was negotiating a lot of things, she was buying, and that wasn't the only time that happened. There were different conversations where she's negotiating or making payments for certain things. And I wasn't even resentful. You can hear that kind of thing and be like, oh my God, this woman. I wasn't, because I like to reflect. I like to take on board information like that and just think. And I just thought about it. It's like, if this woman can spend this amount of money on this thing that she's probably just going to use once and not use it again, and she's not able to pay me, she negotiated like my market like crazy. Of course, I had my own part to play because I accepted it, but she was willing to beat it down that much. And I sat down and I asked myself, why? Why was this woman able to pay for this one-off thing that cost this much, but my own service that I really believe that was essential, she wasn't even willing to pay what I was, asking her for? And the answer that I gave myself, or what I got that day or that moment of reflection, is value. She valued that dress, and I can't remember if it was a dress, but I remember the conversation, but I can't remember what the specific item was, so I'm just going to say it was a dress. She valued the dress that was going to be 1 million naira more than whatever I was offering to her every month. So in her estimation, the 85,000 naira she was paying me every month was the value of not just the work, but what I was bringing to the table. And I thought about it further, and I said, if it was so person in the industry that was doing this work for her, would she pay this amount of money? Because again, she deals with a lot of high profile people. And I told myself, I do not think so. And so what that did for me is I started to look inwards. I started to say, Adedoyin, how can you begin to add value to yourself? How can you begin to position yourself for valuable clients? Now, that woman is no longer my client. But she taught me a very, very important lesson about value. Now, is it possible to have a long-term sustainable career in communications? The answer is yes. But because a lot of people are still operating in this pool where they are largely tactical, where they're just coasting, they're not tying their results to the organizational results, where they are not differentiating themselves from the pool, where the value that they're bringing to the table professionally is not apparent, it's almost like there is a plateau. There is a level to which you can reach if you remain in that tactical pool, if you remain in that pool that is focused on just social media, if you remain in that pool where you are just doing activities, but you are not operating from the strategic point of view. So that is for me the starting point. What kind of communications professional do you want to be? Yes, you can build a long-term sustainable career in this industry, but I have seen and I have discovered that the people who are able to differentiate themselves in terms of skills, in terms of knowledge, in terms of their results, in terms of their ability to think and bring about solutions that business leaders, senior leaders, organization needs, those are the people that earn a lot of money. Those are the people that have multiple opportunities open up to them. Those are the people that are not constrained to one organization or one level. And that is the differentiating point. So there is a pool where a large number of professionals are still sitting, and the path is very, very limited. But there is another pool where there are just a few people, and those are the people that are truly enjoying their career. Now, on both ends, there's still a lot of work to do. To be on the tactical side, you have to work. To be on the strategic side, you have to work. But the difference is in the level of clients, the level of organization, the level of respect, the level of remuneration, the level of results that you get is very different. So you have to ask yourself, what kind of communications professional do I want to be? Now, once you're able to answer that question, you then have to define what exactly is my destination and how do I get there. I've shared previously how in 2018, I just told myself, you know what? I want to become a chief corporate communications officer of a global organization. What is required to get there? What does a chief corporate communications officer or chief communication officer do? That CCO. It's not a common title, but that is at the level of CFO, Chief Financial Officer, Chief Marketing Officer, and even CEO. And I went and I searched on LinkedIn. There were not a lot of people with that title. I searched Director of Communications or Communications Director, and I looked at the skill set. I looked at the track record of the work that these people have done, and I started to benchmark against where I was, my skill knowledge, the things that I needed, education-wise, certification, all of those things. You need to do a skill audit. If you really want to differentiate yourself, if you really want to build a sustainable career, it has to show in your skill set, your competence level, your knowledge, because that is the thing that people can never take away from you. That is the thing that helps you to deliver results. That is the thing that helps you to show that you have value. So where exactly do you want to go? Now, it doesn't matter if at the point where you are, the highest level is communications manager. You need to think beyond your current organization. But the thing is that once you then have that picture, what can you begin to do now to position yourself for where you want to go? You position yourself in such a way that they are headhunting you. They are looking for you. They are saying, look, we need you, Angela. Angela, we're going to pay you $10,000 per month. And I need you to know that it is possible. I've interfaced and interacted with people that are earning crazy amounts of money working in communication. And they're doing the right thing, because some people that are collecting money, they're not doing the work. But they are actually doing the work. They're keeping a low profile, but they have a rewarding career. They're delivering results, but there are not so many of these people. So the answer to this question, that sustainability of your career, it depends on you. It starts with you. Now, the flip side of it is, if you're in your early years, how do you begin to position yourself for the place or the destination where you need to be? Another thing that I need to add before I even get to that is, you also need to build your leadership skills, your ability to advise senior professionals, your ability to think critically. Those soft skills, they make a difference. If they put you in a boardroom, are you able to make contributions to that conversation that makes them pause and say, that the chairman will be like, we need to have you in the next meeting if you find yourself there? And if your answer is no, you have work to do. because having a long-term career in comms goes beyond just knowing communications. So if you think about a CEO has to think about different aspects of a business. I remember I was reading one article, why don't communications people become CEOs? Because truly they're the ones that really have an eye on the different aspects of the business. But it's because we only focus on we are so focused on just comms. Meanwhile, you actually need to be diverse in your knowledge. You have to know, it's like you have to read widely. Your mind has to be open to other areas that is not just communication, so that you're pulling in all of that information and bringing solutions that will really help your organization. So how do you begin to position yourself? One, develop your skills and competencies. Some of you need to go and enroll for certification. There is the IABC, there's the GCC, Global Community, I always forget how to say, but GCCC, there's the chartership of the CIPR, right? There are others. Now, if these things financially you don't yet have the money, that's okay. Start now by using free and available resources. Enroll for one-day courses. Go for things. Start saving. That's how you begin. You layer up to where you need to be. Buy books. Look for things that will shorten your learning curve. In my book, The Proficient Communicator, I wrote that in the early years, the beginning phase, use that to get your hands into the work. Learn as much as you can. Stretch yourself, because you will develop skills and competencies and application of the principles that will help you later on, that will distinguish you from the pool. Look for opportunities to apply this thing. If your organization is not giving you the room, go and volunteer. Are there sacrifices to be made? Yes, but if you need to distinguish yourself, then you have to be ready to make the sacrifices. If you think about doctors that have a specialist skill, when you read about how much went into their education or how much went into them developing this specialist skill, that they'll say only 1 in 100 and they're the ones, and you're like, wow. It takes sacrifice, it takes discipline, it takes dedication. But if you are committed to yourself, I can assure you that you can build a long-term sustainable career in communication. So work on developing your skills, work on expanding your worldview, expanding your knowledge. You can't just be all about communications and PR alone. Listen to the news. Sometimes when I'm working, I just put the news on. I see what's happening in the world, what's happening in France, what's happening in the US, what's happening in whatever country. I listen to analytics or analysis rather. People are analyzing certain situations. Oh, this happened because of this. They're analyzing the economy. While I may not have anything to do with those things right now, what it's doing is it's expanding my mind. I like to listen to people talk about their work. I ask them questions about their work, not because I have anything to do with it, but that's how you expand your mind. People are always asking me, Adedoyin, you know a lot about a lot of things. And yes, because I'm always pulling knowledge. If I meet somebody and the person says they're a geoscientist, I'm like, okay, tell me more. What do you do as a geoscientist? And I'm truly listening. I'm engaging the person. I'm asking questions. And somehow that information, that knowledge, that thing I have gained from that person is that, I don't know, your subconscious mind is so powerful. When you then need it, it just pulls it up. And sometimes I'm like, where did I get this from? But I know that I learned it from somewhere. Expose yourself, right? So I think for me, it's just knowing that there is a path, there is a way. If communications is a field you want to work in, I'm not even saying, be ignorant of the challenges. There are challenges, I'm very honest with you, but do not be limited by the challenges. It's to say, how do I overcome these challenges? What do I need to do? And begin to get to work. But do you know the first and the starting point is you? You work on your skills, work on your competencies, learn like crazy, consume knowledge, find places to apply, go all out, be hungry for more of the knowledge. Because when you get to that peak where it's only a few people, the differentiation, it's going to show. Some of you may need to go for leadership coaching or leadership training. Expand yourself and don't say, I don't have enough money. By now, you should know that I'm always saying, don't let money be the limiting factor. I have seen, in fact, I've encouraged people that didn't have money, just find out what's possible. Then they'll say, oh, I saw a scholarship and this happened. A lot of unbelievable miracles, but don't be limited by, oh, I'm in a rural area, I don't have access to data. Break through those limitations. But you have to determine within your heart that you want to succeed, and a path will open up for you. I'm so convinced about that. But the truth about building a long-term sustainable career in communication is that you must be willing to differentiate yourself. If you want to be in the mass of the pool that are doing things that are tactical, that are just getting by, then you may get to that plateau very, very quickly. So that is my answer to the question. I really do believe that you can build a long-term sustainable career in communications, but I also believe that it starts with you. I also believe that it starts by thinking strategically about your skills, your gifts, your talent, how you're going to use it, how you want to position yourself, and then go after the opportunities that God brings your way without fear, without hesitation, with courage and with boldness. So I hope that has encouraged you. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to let me know. But before I wrap up today, the next in-person Come Mentorship Circle session is going to happen on October 1st in Lagos, Nigeria. It's open to 10 people. So whether you're just starting your career in communications, you want to transition, it's going to be a full day of learning, of coaching, and just helping you to build. So this question we're talking about now, help you to map out how to make communications a sustainable career for you. I really want it to be as practical as possible. So look out for more details and sign up if you would like to be a part of it. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.